Hey there, folks. I thought I'd show a little video of my restoration of this. Is Powermatic 60. I believe it's a 1979. It's an 8-inch joiner, and this was actually made in the U.S., which is comforting somewhat. Can't say much about the Powermatics these days, which are probably made in Taiwan. It is a behemoth of a machine. It's a very heavy machine. I have a Delta 6-inch joiner, which is it's a great machine considering it was made overseas. I really like it. It's just not wide enough for the table. It's a 6-inch table, and as soon as you bring in rough material, it goes kaput. I mean, it's just not big enough. But other than that, it's a sweet machine. I love this machine. But this is the joiner I picked up, and it's all in pieces, and I'm kind of halfway through, or 75% of the way through restoring it. But I thought I'd do a video anyways. As you can see, it's on a mobile base. This is a Delta. Rockler makes this same mobile base and puts their name on it too. It's a pretty nice base. I think the weight limit is right at what I've got on it. About 300 pounds. This joiner is probably pushing a little bit more than that. Certainly will be with the larger motor. So I've just got the base here and the table base as well, which I've cleaned up. This was all rusted and corroded. I had to pry these tables off. They were so badly stuck together because nobody had moved them in so long. Other than this table came out pretty that table came out pretty easy. But on the outfeed side, that was a pain. I had to do it in my driveway and prop it up and kick it off just to take it apart to get it down here. It's really heavy. So let's see. I've got a lot of these parts already cleaned up, and I had to go through quite a little of a process to get them that way. They weren't bad. I mean, the surface rust was very nice to clean off. I used some of the suggestions on the old woodworking group, OWW, Old Woodworking Machinery actually, and they recommend always using utility knife, which works really nice because then it doesn't, fill up the Scotch-Brite pads. So you take the knives and you scrape most of the surface off, and then you hit it with the Scotch-Brite pads and then a real fine sandpaper too. Really bring back that shine, and then I'll wax these later once they're actually on the machine. It'll be easier to do that, and it won't be all taken apart. So this is the outboard of the cutter head front here, and this is the table side. And then I've got some of the other parts over here. Again, I'm not going to repaint this, at least not right now. It's just I don't have the time, and it's just still too cold out to paint an oil-based or like a conversion-based finish right now. It's too much. I did polish all these bare metal surfaces, so they're real sweet looking. I actually don't always like painting stuff originally like it is. I think if you're going to restore a machine and you repaint it like a car, sometimes it kind of takes away from the machine. And at the end of the day, it is a machine. It's going to get beat up somewhat. I just don't have the time to do it. I know a lot of guys that are retired have time to refinish all their machines, but I've got an old Delta lathe right here that all I did was strip the beds and do the same thing, just clean up all the hardware. But the finish is still pretty good. I kind of like this old Battleship gray finish. I think it adds a lot to the age of the machine. Of course, you want to clean up the beds and everything else like the joiner, but it's kind of nice to leave it somewhat the way it is if you can get one in a good enough condition. Some of them, not all of them are that way. Here is one half of the table, and I've still got to finish this guy, bring it home as far as the finishing, take out some of the rest of the scratches, but it cleaned up real nice. As far as I know, it's pretty flat. We'll see what happens when it actually comes time to bring these in, seeing if they're parallel to each other and they all line up. Very heavy table. I've got the other one over here, and I'll show you what it looks like before you touch it. And this is just happens to happen from storage in a garage where it was, but completely rusted like that. And most of, like 90% of this comes off with a knife. It actually comes off. It's just the deep pitting and some of the other where people put cups down on it and stuff that makes it harder to finish up. I got all these parts kind of scattered around here. This is the 2 horsepower Leeson motor. I was kind of unsure at first if I was going to go with it, and I was also hoping it was single phase, but I couldn't read the motor label correctly when I bought the machine. But it is 3-phase, and I don't have 3-phase power, which kind of freaked me out for a second. And then I got some advice from others and decided to go with a Teco FM50 VFD, and this has a single phase 220, 230 volt input. I think you can even do 460 input, and then it has a 3-phase 230 volt output. And for a joiner, it's kind of nice, I guess. It'll be nice person to talk me into having be able to ramp it up in my residence. Otherwise, my lights would all go dim. Being variable speed is kind of nice, but not really necessary on a joiner. It would be nicer if this was for a drill press or that lathe, which I might do someday, or a shaper or something like that. But it'll be cool. It's a 2 horsepower motor. I hope it works. I think it works. It looks really clean, other than just, you know, surface stuff. But I'm hoping it works. The person said it ran the last time they used it, so that's somewhat uncomforting. But who knows? It should work. And then here are the parts I cleaned up. I cleaned up every piece of hardware on the machine that I wanted to save. All these custom pieces of hardware you obviously want to clean up and save. They clean up really beautifully. I wire wheeled all of them. Actually, I put them in a solution, which I'll show you. It's a rust removal solution that I was recommended on the old woodworking machinery site. I was kind of skeptical at first, like all these ads seen on TV stuff, but you know what? This stuff is amazing. It's like pretty much non-toxic. It doesn't smell at all until you start using it a lot, and it just smells like rust. But you dunk this stuff in it for a couple hours, and that stuff comes out like almost ready to polish. I just wire wheel to get rid of any remainder stuff, but there's no rust left over. And you can see, like, this cutter head was red. I mean, it was totally toast. And now she's a beauty. This thing looks almost brand new. Or it looks like it came off a machine that was just totally mint, even though it was old. But I got it polished too. I polished it with the 3 wheels. I step it up, and you know, some of these parts are painted. I left them, and then I just polished the exposed metal. And some of the hardware I've got to still go through and do. I didn't do all the hardware. A lot of it I purchased just to get new stuff, because, you know, over the years it gets reefed on, and people abuse the hell out of threads. For example, this beauty right here, I don't know if it'll focus, can do it. It's not going to focus, but you can see how horribly those are stripped right there and reefed on over the years. But so that's that. I think I'll do a video update as I'm assembling and putting it back together. Hopefully I can achieve that, and I remember how this thing goes back together. The manual exploded drawings aren't always great, but it's a pretty simple machine that hasn't changed much over the years, so if it's like any other joiner, it should be fine. I'm going to put a on-off switch here, which is similar to like the ones they're putting on modern machines like Delta does these days, and that is this guy right here. Well, I'm hoping this is going to work for me. It's a maintained start-stop switch with a nice paddle switch. You can kick it with your knee, which will fit right into that electrical receptacle in the front of this, and that will be hopefully wired up with either 12 or 24 volt low voltage DC as an input to the VFD, and turn it on. I've still got to test the VFD and see how it's going to be used, and I'm not 100% sure how it is going to work with me. I'm going to have to put that VFD in a box, and I'm still on the fence at this point whether it's going to go on the side of the machine where the old motor starter contactor enclosure, this furnace one, used to be. But it's probably going to go there or on a wall. I would prefer it to be on the machine so it's all contained to one unit, but we'll see what happens. And the VFD will give me my 3-phase output, and run the motor and then set up a nice ramp so I don't, you know, freak out everybody in the house that everything slows down. I did replace the belts, or I bought replacement belts. I didn't go with the twist belts. I have one on my Delta. I just didn't think it was worth it. I used them on my Delta. It is a little bit quieter, but I mean, come on, it's a 2 horsepower motor. It's a nice big joiner. It's going to be loud no matter what. They're like $35 a piece. The link belts, these are $7. We'll see if that works out in the end. I just didn't see the whole value in the link belts, even though I know they're nicer. It's a nicer design, and they are a little bit quieter, but it's a pretty beefy motor, and that thing's gonna kick no matter what. So I think, you know, it's like when I run my CNC machine. Some things just get insignificant when you've already got the decibel all the way up there screaming at you. And I think that's it. I got new knives too. I wasn't going to go with the Sheelix head. I seriously thought about it. I really thought it through, but you know, $400 for a head, it's pretty much what I paid for the machine as it is. I'm just not going to do it. I don't use a lot of figured wood. I just don't have value in it. I know they're sweet, but they're also really expensive. Maybe on a new machine I'd do that, but not on an old one like this. I like to keep it somewhat original. Another cool tool I've had, I'm a woodworker. I'm not really a mechanic or anything like that, but I was recommended to get one of these. I'll probably get a nicer one in the future. This thing is sweet. This is a gear puller or a bearing puller, however you use it. But I had to use this to get the old bearings off this, which I've replaced now, and I'm waiting for accurate bearing to get them in the mail. But they are very inexpensive. I think that they're always worth replacing. I think my lathe, as I was just polishing, is going shot, and I'm going to have to probably call them up and get them from my lathe. But this thing is sweet, and I think it's probably the only reasonable way to get those bearings off. They are really hard to get off. I think that I'm pretty sure that they're original bearings, and they were shot. I mean, they were just toast, and they sounded horrible, so I decided to replace them. And they were a pain to get off. I mean, I really had to refund that thing, even with that, you know, ideal setup for extracting those. It was a pain, but I'll do another video in a little bit and show you this thing going back together, and hopefully of it running and making wood flat. That would be the end goal of everything. I hope that the tables are true and true. I really don't want to surface grind them. But otherwise, it's a great machine, and I'm happy to make this purchase, even though it's an older machine. I think these older machines are the way to go sometimes. Thanks, guys.